Seriously.
I'd just like to point out that Alex just said the words, "It was fucking lit."
It's all we ever wanted to hear from him.
Oh,
Great. Can I go
Fantastic.
now?
yeah. I never thought
You
you'd stoop
go.
to that level. All right. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Their cat is so freaking cute.
See, my man knows what's up. Like, went to a party, hung out with the cat the whole time. Like,
I did
Dude,
not
that's the way
hang
to
out
go.
with the cat
Every
the whole
time.
time.
Dude, is that
I
not
did
what
not-
you do?
No.
I'm not making
Every
fun.
time.
Dude, who doesn't do
I'm not
that?
making fun of you. That's fucking like every time I go to a party and there's an animal there, I'm like, yeah, fuck all of the people here.
Yeah, I'm gonna just happily
Well,
drink
that's
my
what I like
drink
this
with
party.
you.
If it's a dog, I don't care. But if it's a cat, oh man.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, though, Alex, you do bring up a good point. I will be right back. Give me 1 sec, and then we can get this started.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah, because you don't have your persona ready.
He doesn't have his persona ready. Good lord.
Yeah, he has a persona.
I believe it.
They got mercilessly grilled by frickin' McShartland and Giamio because they thought that I'd cheated them over on that trade,
they
the
did.
Mariota trade.
I mean, you did, but legally.
How the fuck did I cheat them over? It's like seriously.
I mean, you didn't cheat them
Attention.
over, but like,
Your
God, that
team-
trade made me barf just everywhere.
Okay, I'll admit that, yeah, I kind of fleeced him a bit on the Mariota thing, but
You didn't cheat.
not to the point where he was fleeced.
Yeah.
Good lord.
Wait. So, Ethan, what's your team's name again?
Fake Browns.
It's a terrible name.
Oh, okay. Wait, no. So I was talking shit to you in the draft chat because I thought your team was Rocky Mountain High.
No, that's Cody.
His team is fucking garbage.
He's always been garbage.
Like his team is like
Just
hot
his team
garbage.
last year.
Like,
Oh, he's horrendous.
It's kind of hot
it
trash.
was worse last year.
Well, last year wasn't really his fault. Last year, like, his entire starting roster was on IR. It was
Yeah, he got
insane.
fucked last
It
year.
disintegrated right after he played me.
It was
What
nuts.
What was it? Adrian Peterson went down, everybody went down, and it was like, holy shit.
And it was like, oh, well, my season's over.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
it's like
Can I
take
take- can I
14
take it
back to pasture, cock the gun and shoot.
Yeah. Can I actually? I'm sorry. Can I take that back? I actually did just look, and your team is fucking terrible.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Like, I'm sorry.
Tell that to him and
Dude,
then watch
Christian-
us win the title.
Christian
because
McCaffrey is your
exactly
best player, and he's a rookie.
I know, amazing, right? My
He's
team is so
rookie,
young
and
this
he's a
year.
white
All right.
guy in the NFL. Like, you were doing this wrong.
I believe in the power of the white running back.
Okay, Bill
Absolutely.
Belichick, now shut it down.
All right, let's
Okay.
get it going.
Are the lights good on my thing, or are
Yeah,
they
you're
like
fine.
too blinding?
No,
no,
you're
you're
fine.
good, you're good.
Yeah, you're fine.
All right, Philip, just let me know. I've got the bottle opener right here. Just let me know when we're
Go
gonna
for
get
it.
ready to start, and
Go
I'll
for it.
open it up.
We've been live for like 5 minutes.
Oh, you're doing a bottle now? I thought you were going to do a can.
I shut up, Alex. I had a long day at work. All right, buddy.
It was a bottle. It was
You
a
had a
bottle
long
day.
day at work.
I also like don't usually drink on like weekdays, except for like draft days, and then now this podcast apparently. So you guys are just turning me into a fucking degenerate.
Why not?
Oh god, I'm gonna love this.
So we've just been live this whole time.
Oh yeah, since we were talking about the cat.
So when everybody else sees this podcast, they're gonna already see all of this.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, so hey everybody, welcome to this fucking completely inauspicious start from our commissioner, who is honestly making Roger Goodell look like he's a fucking genius. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a gang of fools. So we got a
bunch
crack
of fools.
God damn
A
it.
bunch of fools, a gang of fools, whatever. We're just the gang that couldn't do
It's
a
fine.
podcast. Right?
We started the podcast by talking about hanging out with cats at parties, so I mean, it can't go much farther down from here.
Wait,
Tells you all you need to know about us.
Exactly.
We started out the
How far
podcast
back
by
did we
talking about
go?
hanging out with cats at parties, and then me just trash talking two other players in the league just viciously.
Oh yeah,
So
which is obviously how it should start every
off to
time.
a swell start, boys. All
You know,
right.
you can always edit this in post, right?
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Or
Happen.
skip to this
No, you
part,
definitely
they
shouldn't edit it.
skip the whole crap.
Absolutely not.
All right,
Put the whole
so-
product.
If you don't mind me saying, everybody shut the fuck up and let's actually get this started. So we're going to start off. We're going to talk about the draft and we're going to talk about week one matchups. The week one matchups, not nearly as important because it's week one. Also, I'm playing me and Jeff are playing Pit Steel 83 who auto drafted. So we've got a fucking win lined up regardless. But let's start things off. Now, of course, everybody, when you look at your website, obviously the NFL website, you're going to see a different list of matchups because everybody, regardless of who your team is going to be first. So let's do a consensus here. Which do you guys think? I mean, I hope you guys have looked at the matchups for week one. Which matchup do you think is the most lopsided? Which one do you look at and just go, yeah, this one is going to get destroyed?
Definitely. I got this one. Gonna have to say Hydro Kids, Hydro Wife versus Sir Camp Newton's Laws.
Okay, well,
That's right.
there's one vote for that. Ethan, what's your pick?
I think your matchup with Rob is pretty lopsided.
It is. Philip, you'll be the deciding vote here. Which one should we start with? My matchup or Hydro Kids, Hydro Wife versus Sir Cam Newton's Laws?
I'm actually gonna put in a third choice and put it my game versus Cody.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand.
So
Actually-
Al, you be the tiebreaker.
No, we're going to go with that one. We're going to go with you against Cody
We're
because
just
I want to
whipping
get
out
all of
the-
my hate and anger out for the beginning of this matchup.
Oh,
Like, okay,
Lord.
so like, my God. Okay, first of all, I know I'm supposed to be, quote unquote, hosting this or whatever, but my God, Cody's draft was terrible.
Yeah, it was not
It literally
good.
only has 3 good players on his team. Literally 3. And that's Mike Evans, Jordy Nelson, and Matt Ryan. So
I mean, I'm fine with a
all
lot of
3
other picks, but I think that there's a lot of reaching going on in the early rounds for him.
I mean, I'm sorry. Currently, as it stands, his 2 starting running backs are Ingram and Gore.
Yeah,
it's
that's
pretty
rough.
rough.
That's scary. I was
I think
honestly, if you had a thought about drafting a Saints running back in that draft, you really had to reevaluate your priorities because you knew that you were going to be dealing with that type of situation.
Oh, absolutely. I personally would have taken a Saints running back in that draft in like the 12th round or later.
so. None of
Like,
them essentially.
No.
Yeah, I do.
So yeah, it's like if somebody had a gun to my head, it's like you have to pick one of the Saints running backs. I'd be like, fucking shoot me.
Yeah,
Um,
but-
So,
I mean,
okay.
give credit at least that Mark Ingram is probably like the RB1 because
For
I
now.
highly doubt Adrian Peterson is the RB1 considering A, his age, and B, his injury history.
Okay, so we're gonna bring some order to this. I'm gonna
Yeah.
stop railing on Cody and his just god awful team. I may even just like pity trade him. I may even just convince my co-owner Jeff to like pity trade him a good player like halfway through the season, just because it's like it's like sending food to Africa, just some fucking charity. But 'cause
JJ
God knows
Watt
the kid-
rounding up the $20 million for Houston.
the $20 million for Houston and Cody's fantasy football team because they're both about as big of a disaster.
Yeah, 15 million of that is going to Cody's team.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna get some order in here. We're gonna start with you, Alex.
Oh,
Who in your opinion was Cody's best pick? Who was his worst pick? And who's your favorite pick or your favorite sleeper on Cody's team? Now, of course, Cody's team is Brock's Rocky Mountain High, which he changed from Peyton's Rocky Mountain High, which was a very topical name, made a lot of sense, totally relevant. Moving on. Alex, your favorite pick, your least favorite pick, your favorite sleeper on his team.
You mean the best pick, the worst pick, and my favorite pick?
Yes, if you're gonna split hairs, you asshole. Come on, get it. Let's
Hey,
get
you
it on.
said
Your
it
team is
first, man.
terrible.
All right. Favorite pick. Definitely the favorite pick that I would have to say is the Mike Evans, or actually, no, the Jordy Nelson pick. He got Jordy Nelson at a pretty good discount, and I think that was actually a smart move. We actually kind of circled back to this in the keeper special, but Jordy Nelson at the value that he got him
It's
at the end of the second round, yeah, and that's a good way to rebuild. Now, of course, Cody didn't exactly rebuild the team in a way that would make it a superior contender, so you could say they kind of threw that opportunity away. But I will give him credit for his starting wide receiver core. Jordy Nelson and Mike Evans are going to be strong. Are going to be a strong factor in a lot of games, and could keep at the very least games close.
All right. So who's his worst pick then?
Honestly, I'm not high on the James White pick because come to think of it, the fact that Cody drafted running backs from two of arguably the league's worst running back situations in James White and Mark Ingram, that really tells you that he wasn't sure about it. But you don't know where James White's going to be at the end of the season, and considering the fact that he's fighting for time with Rex Burkhead, Mike Gilsley, Dion Lewis, and there's too many mouths to feed in this, and using him as a flex player is going to be a huge risk.
Yeah. All right. Your favorite sleeper on his team?
My favorite sleeper on this team definitely has to be. That's a good one. I'm going to have to say it'll be at Kevin White.
Okay. That's solid. All right. Moving on.
Call me crazy, but I think that Kevin White is fed up with what's happened to him the past two seasons, and he realizes that he's supposed to be now the number one. With Cameron Meredith down, and with at least a semi-competent quarterback, not one that doesn't give a shit, throwing to him, he has the potential to be the guy that he was supposed to be drafted to be. And I think that's going to be. I think that could be an X factor in a lot of games.
I think that's definitely a testament to the strength of his team that Alex's favorite sleeper on his team was his 13th round pick. Just going to throw that out there. All right, Ethan, go quick because I hope you don't talk as much as Alex does. Alex has a lot of good information.
So slow. My God.
But my God, you like to go on. But that's okay. Information. But Jesus Christ, buddy. Ethan, your favorite pick on Cody's team, your least favorite pick, and your number one sleeper on his squad.
My favorite pick, I'm going to go with Alex. I think Jordy's the best pick that he had here. Got him at a pretty good value. I don't think there's much to explain there. He's got one of the best quarterbacks in the league thrown to him, and he got him in the second round. No debate from me there. His worst pick, I'm going to go with Mark Ingram, just because third round pick, that's a high value pick, and you're picking a guy that's in a very rough running back situation, a very crowded backfield. Although I do agree that James White was also a pretty brutal pick. For sleeper, I actually really kind of like the Jack Doyle pick. It's not the worst pick I've ever seen for a tight end. Obviously, with Coby Fleener and Dwayne Allen out of there, Jack Doyle's kind of the guy there. An 8th round pick, 120th overall. I mean, that could be something. If anything, it'll be decent backup if Kyle Rudolph goes down for some reason. But I didn't mind the Jack Doyle pick as a sleeper.
All right, Philip, same question to you. Dissect Cody's awful, terrible game.
The one that I get the joy of playing first. So yeah, I'm gonna agree with both of them. Again, Jordy Nelson's the best pick he had just because of that insane value. He could have been, a late first round pick, and he got him at the ass end of the second round. So that's nuts value, and Jordy should be really good for his team. His worst pick by far for me was Alex Smith in the 7th round. That's insane. Like, just think about the quarterbacks he passed up to take Alex Smith as his second quarterback behind Matt Ryan. So first of all, he's not going to play Alex Smith all that often because Matt Ryan.
No. In fact, I was actually looking this up. He picked Matt Ryan above Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Phillip Rivers, Matt Stafford.
Yeah,
I mean,
insane.
the list of
doesn't make
quarterbacks who are
sense.
better
I
than
actually
Alex
think
Smith.
that that's a more justified pick because Ryan was like the third, maybe fourth ranked quarterback on the board. So that was actually
No, we're
justified.
talking Alex Smith.
But in the third round, though, in the third round,
I'll give
He
him
was actually kind of, I think he was listed at that value.
Yeah, I think that
Justin,
Matt Ryan at the end of the third, like it was right at
we're
the
not
end of the
knocking
third
Matt
round.
Ryan pick.
Oh,
In my
if
opinion,
you're
Matt
saying that Alex Smith was picked before any of the guys that you mentioned, then yes, that
Yeah, he
is
was.
actually what the
No,
fuck were you thinking?
no, he picked Alex Smith in the 7th round. Do you know where Jeff and I had Alex Smith on our list of players to draft?
Like 12th or
Undrafted.
13th.
No,
Undrafted.
we had him on the do not draft list.
Yeah, it's entirely fair.
Yeah, fair.
I
Makes
mean,
sense.
okay. So last thing though, Philip, your favorite sleeper on his team?
I think that Jaquiz Rogers in the 12th. It's pretty good value for someone who's going to probably give you high running back 2 numbers for 3 weeks, and then I could see him having some sort of role beyond Doug Martin coming back from suspension. So I'd say that's probably my favorite pick out of his later round picks.
Yeah, I actually to round this out, I actually agree with you. I think that was actually the smartest pick he made, taking Jaquiz as late as he did. Jeff and I were actually about to try and snap him up, but then Dippy Doo over here did. And in terms of his best pick, I mean, Jordy Nelson is smart. It makes sense, but honestly, I have to go with Mike Evans because at the end of the day, like, yeah, he was picking first overall, but Mike Evans was the best player available. Like, if he didn't take Mike Evans, think about the state that this team would be in right now.
Oh man, it'd be rough.
Like, this team would be
Yeah, it'd be brutal.
complete and utter garbage if he hadn't
But I
taken
mean,
Mike
think
Evans.
about if he
Runner for the
took like a
Midwest
top
Special
running
shirt.
back instead of Mike Evans. He could have taken a good
He probably would
wide
have had
receiver
Melvin
2
Gordon.
in the 3rd round. Yeah. So I mean, if you have
Because
Melvin
keep in
Gordon
mind,
kick off your running backs, and then you take a different receiver instead of Mark Ingram, I think it's a better team, to be honest.
oh god, yeah, no, and honestly, his worst pick for me is like a 3-way tie between Ingram in the 3rd, Smith in the 7th, and I honestly, can it be like a 10-way tie? Like, the only good picks he made was Mike
Pick
Evans,
one.
Jordy Nelson. Like after the 3rd round, he just fucking took a Titanic and just went straight to the bottom. Like, just awful. So let's move on before let's move on before I make myself sick. To your team, Philip. Karma is a Mitch.
Oh man, you
Now,
guys start.
we're just gonna
Tell me what you got.
we're just gonna make you like sit back and just take this abuse because that's how we're all gonna do it. Like, nobody's allowed. All right, how about this, guys? Can we establish this? Nobody's allowed on the podcast to comment on their own team unless they are asked a question. How about that?
Sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
That should speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, the last thing we need is to do a little bit of this.
That's
Also-
what I've been doing all day. I don't got any more left.
Yeah. Also, Alex, when we start talking about your team, you're going to have a rebuttal for every single complaint we make about your team, and the podcast will be 8 hours long because you apparently know entirely too much about football. But moving on.
I will shut my mouth.
Talking about Philip's team. You know what, Ethan? Why don't you start us off? Who was your favorite pick that Philip made? Your least favorite pick and your favorite sleeper on his team, Karma's and Mitch.
I'll take a minute to think about this. I'm pulling it up right now.
That's fine. That's fine. Alex, are you ready? Did you come prepared for class?
I think so. I think I have the.
Then take it away.
All right. Favorite pick. Definitely my favorite pick has to be the Isaiah Crowell pick. Isaiah Crowell was actually one of the guys that I was targeting, but I realized that I was out of range for him. But I think that he's a serious breakout candidate because he's heading into free agency next year, and he's going to want to get out of Cleveland as fast as possible. So that's my favorite pick. My least favorite pick. This one was actually tougher, but I think Keenan Allen is probably the biggest risk. We've seen him lost for the 2 straight seasons, so there's that injury risk. There's the whole, how are the Chargers going to adapt to LA? thing. That's honestly my biggest concern there. The sleeper pick, this one I actually think is pretty interesting, is it's definitely the Samaje Perine pick. Samaje Perine, he may be a little lower on the Redskins depth chart, but he's I think he's right behind Rob Kelly. I think that's the number one guy, right?
He's also a returner.
Yeah. Well, Perine looks like he's going to be the guy to be groomed to take over. Thompson's gone. Thompson's going to be gone. Jones is gone, and you don't know how long Kelly. You don't know if Kelly is a viable guy or if he's basically supposed to be the Alfred Morris or like a holdover running back,
or if he's just going to fumble himself out of a job.
Rules, Philip. I know you're the commissioner.
I wasn't talking about my team. My team.
Don't Roger Goodell all over this goddamn podcast, or I will shut it down. I swear to God. Ethan,
I will mute you.
Huh?
I have him on mute.
All right,
Ethan. Your favorite pick from Captain Wifebeater, your least favorite pick, and top sleeper.
My favorite pick in this draft, I'm not even going to go in the first 9 rounds. I'm looking at Taylor Gabriel at round 10. I really liked Taylor Gabriel. I picked him up in my other league. I think he's going to do big things in that offense. He was really good for me at the end of the year last year, and I think that growing up process is going to continue. The worst pick for me definitely has to be Blake Bortles as his next pick. I just don't think he was a draftable quarterback, but maybe he can do something and turn his career around, but we'll see. Sleeper pick. A really good sleeper pick for me is Zach Ertz, the tight end for the Eagles. He hasn't really put up big numbers just yet, but this could be a big breakout year for him. In Philly. I really like Carson Wentz as quarterback. He showed a lot of good things last year, and I think he'll be spreading the ball around quite a bit, and Ertz will get a lot of red zone looks. So that's what I got.
All right. Listen, in my opinion, the smartest thing that you just said there was about Carson Wentz, or about Zach Ertz, rather. I'm going to start this off with my least favorite pick on Philip's team is Taylor Gabriel. Taylor Gabriel, I'm telling you, after having quite literally worked side by side last year with somebody who covered the Falcons. Taylor Gabriel had a hell of a season last year, and there's no doubting that Matty Ice is a hell of a quarterback. But there's one thing you have to remember. His offensive coordinator is gone, and they haven't changed the scheme. On top of all that, all the biggest news coming out of Falcons camp is that Mohamed Sanu is impressing the hell out of everybody. So that's the number of catches for Gabriel going down. On top of all that, apparently more news out of Falcons camp is that they're going to run a lot more play action and a lot more slant passes to Tevin Coleman and to Devonta Freeman. That's even less catches for Taylor Gabriel because he was a really strong short yardage receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. So that's why I personally think that he's not going to be that good. But that being said, the Atlanta Falcons have the best schedule for wide receivers based on a bunch of different metrics from ESPN. And I heard that on the Matthew Berry show, so it's got to be 100% correct. But, I mean, the Falcons are good. They have a hell of a wide receiver pick. So that's my least favorite pick on your team, Phil. My favorite pick on your team, believe it or not, is your 8th round pick at 102 overall, Jameis Winston. I personally think he's going to have a hell of a season, and I do believe that you picked like 4 or 5 picks before Jeff and I did, and had you not taken Jameis, we were about to. I mean, I think he's going to have a hell of a season. I honestly think that Jameis and the Bucs have a good chance of contending for this division, which I think is one of the better divisions in the NFC. He's a hell of a quarterback, and getting him at an 8th round value is really strong. The big reason we wanted to draft him at the 8th round was so nobody else could have him. So we could just have him back up Aaron Rodgers and just frustrate the hell out of everybody. Oh my God, I just talked about my team. I'm sorry. That was bad. My bad. Okay, but we're not talking about my team right now. My favorite sleeper pick, and I gotta go 100% of the way with Alex on this. Samaje Perine, like that guy, I think he's gonna have a good season. You know what? I don't even think he's necessarily gonna have a good season. I think he's gonna have a good career. He just seems to have like the hallmarks of being a guy who's going to have longevity in the NFL, and he's just going to put up like he's not going to be a Hall of Famer, but he's going to put up solid numbers year in, year out. So I think that with all this being said, talking about these two teams, this matchup between stupid Rocky Mountain, I'm too high to properly draft a football team versus oh my God, I forgot Philip's team name for a hot second. Karma's a Mitch.
Karma's a Mitch.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody actually think that Rocky Mountain Stupid has a chance to win this game?
No.
Maybe
Not up.
if Tampa Bay doesn't play their game this week.
The only way that happens is if, like a meteor crashes into like every single player that Philip's playing.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Or just the NFL just folds.
They start
Like
the
the whole
lockout
league-
like
The whole
years
league.
early.
No, not even a lockout. Like the league just goes out of business. Just no more NFL. That's the
The one
only
thing
way.
that I will point out is that you run the risk of losing Jameis Winston for week 1 because of the hurricane.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Yeah, that is true.
That
That
would
is
be
true.
unfortunate. Because then I'm
Uh,
gonna have good old Blake Bortles up against the Texans.
You mean Captain Derpy Derp?
Basically, yeah, exactly. So I prefer
Yeah,
not
but
to have
I
that.
had him last year.
But yeah.
Fucker.
All right, let's move on to the next matchup.
All right, you guys want to do? You guys want to cover mine now? Because that seemed to be the number 2
Why don't we
choice.
just why don't we get everybody else? Why don't we get our teams out of the way, and that way we can focus on everyone else.
Yeah, that'll just
Yeah,
work
that's
out.
what I was thinking. So, you know what? Hell, let's do your matchup, Alex. Now, you did change your name back. See, what did you change your name to? Very briefly, Alex.
Okay, so initially I was thinking about doing Pennywise the Dancing Clown,
Yeah.
kind of to promote it, which is coming out this week. But then I kind of just
Pretty
didn't
hyped
really
about that
feel
movie.
it. And
Pretty hyped about that movie.
Dude, you killed. Whatever. You killed the Hooker. Still a pretty good teammate. So let's start with your team, Alex. And so we're gonna have to silence you for a little bit because we're talking about your squad. And Philip, why don't you kick us off? Your favorite pick Alex made, your least favorite pick, and your number 1 sleeper.
I'm gonna start with best player. I think you got Dalvin Cook at a massive value. I think in the 4th round, that's a really good pick. Because in a lot of the mock drafts I'd been doing leading up to the draft, I'd seen him, as early as the mid-2nd round. People real hyped about him, and I think that'll pan out really well for him as a good starting running back. His worst pick, I think, is the Giants in the 12th. I think that's just a little bit reachy on them. I don't think they're a top defense that deserves to be picked that high. I think you definitely could have gotten them a couple rounds later. So I just say the value's just not really there. And then my favorite value, I think, has to be Terrence West in the 11th. Because, all right, the situation's not great. The offensive line is pretty injured. Terrence West didn't even look that good in the preseason. It's pretty sad. But he is the starting running back. So you're getting a clear RB1 in round 11. So I don't think you can really argue too much with that value.
Ethan, your thoughts?
My best pick for Alex, I'm gonna go with Philip. I think Dalvin Cook's a hell of a pick. With Adrian Peterson out of there in Minnesota, Cook's gonna be handed the reins pretty quickly there. I mean, I know Jerick McKinnon's there, but I don't think he's anything terribly special.
Not at all, no.
So I think they'll definitely try to get Dalvin Cook the gig early on. The riskiest pick I thought was Kenny Stills in round 11, just because that Miami has a really crowded wide receiver core down there right now. Because you got Stills, you got Jarvis Landry, you got Devontae Parker, and a couple other guys. So the touches or the receptions could be a little sparse for Kenny Stills, especially because they're expecting big things out of Devontae Parker this year. And then the sleeper pick, I'm going to go with Jay Cutler in the round 12, and I can't believe I'm saying that. I hate to say it.
Dude, that you literally took the words right out of my mouth. Why?
Very much a sleeper. I like the offense that he's going into. I like the weapons he has around him. He's definitely going into a good situation. Now, whether he's in perfect game shape kind of remains to be seen. It might take a couple weeks for him to feel things out a little bit. But I think Jay Cutler was the best sleeper pick in Alex's draft for sure.
I 100% agree, especially considering that Jay Cutler is his backup. In fact, I even brought props talk about Jay Cutler. Smoking Jay Cutler, and look, this pick, when I saw Alex take him, knowing I can't talk with this in my mouth. That's also what she said. Whatever. Moving on. Knowing he already had Dak Prescott, and then seeing him take Jay Cutler, I was like, okay, like damn, like that's a hell of a sleeper pick. And honestly, it was hard for me not to pick that as one of his best picks. I mean, he had a really good draft. I will not begrudge him that. He had a really good draft because, I mean, at the end of the day, Dak Prescott is going to carry him through most of the season. But I guarantee you there's going to be 1, maybe 2, maybe even 3 weeks where Dak Prescott is meh. Like, he's not at his best, but he's still good because that Cowboys team is really good. But there are going to be those 1, 2, or 3 weeks, like I said, where Jay Cutler is just like, yeah, I got this. I'm just going to single-handedly win this game for, like, the crappiest team in the AFC. Wait, excuse me, the second crappiest team in the AFC. I forgot about the Jets. They're that division. You know what I'm talking about. No, that was a hell of a sleeper pick. I honestly think your best pick, Alex, was Amari Cooper in the second round. Now, granted, second round Amari Cooper makes sense. That's kind of where his ADP is. But you took him late in the second round. A lot of guys slept on Amari Cooper, and you kind of snapped him up. And Jeff and I were watching it, and we were like, damn, Amari Cooper is falling. We were kind of like rubbing our hands together like, wait a minute, is he going to last to the third? Like, is everybody else in this league a fucking idiot? Like, okay. And then you snapped up Amari Cooper. You were like, okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Because he's just like, I'm sorry, and the way I like to especially rate these high-end players is not based on their ceiling, it's based on their floor. It's based on how like bad things can be if they play the whole season, but they play the season at their worst. At his worst, Amari Cooper is still going to have a damn good season. I mean, just at the end of the day. And honestly, I think your worst pick, I got to go with Philip. New York Giants defense at 12. But that's more of a personal thing than anything. I'm a Giants fan, right? It's just more of a personal thing than anything. I just personally think, and I looked up the numbers again today, in most standard fantasy leagues, now granted, I understand our scoring is a little bit higher, but the scoring is higher for everybody. The average difference between the best defense in fantasy football last year and the worst defense in fantasy football was an average of about 2.78 points per game. So I just think you could have gone with a little more value at that 12th overall pick, or that 12th round pick. But even so, your team is still solid, so that's okay. And who knows, the Giants defense could just go off and prove all of the fantasy pundits wrong, and you could look like a genius. What are you going to do? So moving on to your opponent in week 1. And this is going to be
to the team. Oh, we're still doing the matchup thing? Okay.
Well, I don't know. Do you want to be in charge of the show? Is this a fucking mutiny right here?
No. I just thought this was going to be going through each of our.
I like keeping up the matchups going.
Alex, damn it! This podcast is like Pirates of the Caribbean. We stick to the goddamn code, all right?
All right, so we go with Kevin's team. How did Dougie?
Yeah.
Yay.
Let's do it. Who wants to start?
Yeah. Let's let Alex start because I feel like he's going to have a conniption if he doesn't talk about some fantasy football.
All right, go for it, Alex.
I'm not making fun of you. You just fucking love to talk about fantasy football, and that's the whole reason why this podcast is successful. Otherwise, it would be 5 minutes of Ethan, Phillip, and I going, yeah, we agree. Yeah, we agree. Yeah, we agree. Jay Cutler jokes. We agree.
And we're out of here.
Okay, so this is actually one of those stranger teams that I had to – I mean, because there's so many good picks and there's so many questionable picks. If I had to pick the best pick, definitely has to be Kareem Hunt. Yeah, Kareem Hunt benefits from the fact that Spencer Ware is hurt, and we don't know how Charcandrick West is going to be. And you get RB1 value in a guy that has an opportunity to prove himself and potentially supplant Ware as the number one. It's basically the Jordan Howard principle all over again, because Howard did the exact same thing. He took over for Jeremy Langford's spot and ran with it. So that's definitely the best pick. The worst pick probably has to be, and maybe it's just because I haven't really seen much out of him as of late, but I'm not too keen on Eric Ebron. Ebron, in my opinion, has not really shown what he was supposed to be when he came out of North Carolina. And maybe this changes. Maybe Matthew Stafford finally throws to him a little bit more. But there's a lot of good wide receivers in that system. There's a lot of weapons in that system, and I could see Ebron being like one of the odd guys out here. As far as his sleeper goes, I would have to say the sleeper is maybe going to be Dwayne Allen. Dwayne Allen stands to be a great beneficiary because of Rob Gronkowski's health issues. And if Ebron falls through and if Gronkowski has his health issues still, then you have a guy who Tom Brady can rely on just as much as he can rely on, Brandon Cooks or Danny Amendola. Just having a nice safety net right there.
Yeah. Ethan, your thoughts?
I really like. I mean, it's pretty much expected where he was going to go, but I really like the Antonio Brown pick. I mean, you really couldn't go wrong in that spot, and I think he did well to keep him there. I think he's in for a big season in Pittsburgh and what could be Big Ben's final season.
Well, I mean, let's also point out that as a keeper league, and because of the rules of this league, which I love, by the way, he got Antonio Brown 7th overall.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's fucking absurd.
Yep.
That's a discount right there.
It's a huge discount,
considering
that Mike Evans and Melvin Gordon both went before Antonio Brown.
Yeah,
but this was in the case of keepers. This was not based on true valuation.
I know. Let me also just point this out. Because of the rules, the interest, and not to cut you off, Ethan, but because of the rules of this fantasy league, I have never had to think this hard about fantasy football, and I absolutely love it. Anyway, continue.
I know, right? Isn't it great? His worst pick, and I might be proven wrong by saying this later, but I do not like the Alvin Kamara pick in round 10. I mean, it is a round 10 pick, so it's not the worst gamble in the world, but the Saints running back situation is just a cesspool right now, and I just don't know how often Kamara is going to see the field in his rookie season. And then his sleeper pick, I mean, again, this is another running back cesspool, but Rex Burkhead in the 14th round, I don't think that's the worst pick in the world at that spot, particularly if there's a couple injuries there and then – for some reason, Belichick just decides to throw him in for 2 games as the lead back role like he likes to do with certain players. Rex Burkhead could be something there. He could see the field a little bit more than what people are pegging him to see. So I'm interested to see how that goes.
Philip, your thoughts?
All right. Well, I've got an interesting blend of both of their opinions. So I'm going to start with actually my worst pick from his draft. And I'm just going to start it out. I really liked his draft. I think it was one of the better drafts overall. So I'm going to start out with my least favorite pick, and that is Kareem Hunt. I think, honestly, he has a ton. I think it's a good pick, but also I think it's just a victim of the rookie hype. And I think there's every chance that he's, just as productive as Spencer Ware could have been. But Spencer Ware was valued, back in the 4th round on most of the things I saw leading up to the draft. So I just think Kareem Hunt's just a victim of the rookie hype in the post-Zeke world that we all live in. But saying all that, I do think Kareem Hunt could easily be a borderline RB1, without a doubt. So now on to my best pick. I'm actually going to go with Ty Montgomery in the 4th. I think that Ty Montgomery is another guy who could be, a sneaky RB1 guy. Not a ton of competition behind him, despite, there being a ton of running backs there. But none of them seem to have down. Jamal Williams has issues with blocking. And then the rest of them are, all late round picks in the draft. So I think Ty Montgomery's actually got a solid hold on that job. And I mean, when you're a converted receiver and you can catch the ball from Aaron Rodgers, you're just going to get points. And then my best late sleeper pick, I'm going to agree with Ethan here and go with Rex Burkhead. I think that round 14, that's basically just a throwaway pick on someone you hope could bust out. And I think Rex Burkhead, A, has every opportunity to do that in the Patriots system. And B, was handpicked by Belichick out of the Bengals team, and C, Mike Gillislee has been dealing with more soft tissue injuries. So I think there's just a lot of opportunity there for Burkhead, and I think he could be probably not quite as productive as LeGarrette Blount was last year, but definitely a good running back.
All right, to wrap this up quickly, because I honestly think I'm agreeing about the worst pick being, well, to me, the worst pick is kind of a toss-up between Alvin Kamara and the 10th, I think, is, like everyone's talked about, like the Saints running game is just a complete shit show. Like the Saints running game is basically just the morning after, what's it called? Oh my God, that Tuesday, Mardi Gras. The Saints running game is basically like the morning after Mardi Gras on Bourbon Street. Like it's just a disaster. But I also think that honestly, picking the Rams defense in the 12th round, like, I'm sorry. And again, this is personal. I never take a defense before like the last 2 rounds of the draft, because again, the numbers just are there that the defenses, like a defense will win you a championship in real life football. A defense will never, ever, ever, ever win you a championship in fantasy football. Like ever. And it's just, and I mean, and he took the Rams defense. The Rams, the defense that is most likely is going to compete with the Browns, the Jets, and the Niners defense for spending the most damn time on the field, because the offenses on those teams are just pretty much the worst things ever.
Not to mention the fact that you got Aaron Donald holding out, so that just reduces the effectiveness of it.
Yeah, Aaron Donald is probably like thinking about like switching sports at this point. He's just like, just don't even want to say. All right, best pick he made. Honestly, I got to go with Jamison Crowder in the 6th. I think he's going to be a solid wide receiver in Washington. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. And on top of the fact that you have the points in this league that benefit the hell out of returners. And Jamison Crowder is a good returner. And it's almost as if you're getting just extra downs out of him because of his returning stats. Anyway, to wrap this up, this is actually a tight matchup. If you just look at the projections, Alex is projected to win by like 3 points, less than that. And of course, with the way our league works, if you factor in the benches too, Alex is only projected to win by like 7 points total. So, and that's 7 points in fantasy football that's a tight margin. But that being said, I still give it to Alex. And to contradict what I said, well, I totally think that a defense can never win you an NFL championship. I think the Giants defense helps him win week 1. Just because the Rams defense is terrible. Philip, who do you think wins this matchup?
Who do I think wins this matchup? I think Kevin wins this matchup. I love his team. It's a really good team.
All right, Ethan?
I'm going to go with Alex. I think he has the better matchups week 1. The Giants defense is playing Dallas, so I don't know how well that's going to go over. But other than that, I think he's in pretty good shape to squeak out a thriller in week 1. This is probably the best matchup of week 1, in my opinion. You got 2 big-time contenders squaring off in week 1.
Yeah, I think so. Alex, we're not going to ask your advice because we know what you think. It's your team. You drafted it. If you didn't think you were going to win, stop playing fantasy football. All right, let's move on. Ethan, we'll start with your team. So it's now your turn to shut the hell up. You're playing the other Phil, the fake Phil's corn on the cob team, which let's just say second best fucking Green Bay reference in the league. Just want to throw that out there. So starting with that, corn on the I'm looking at fake Browns. So Philip, let's start with you. What did you think of Ethan's draft?
Ethan's draft. I think it's pretty solid all around. Until some of the later round picks, I think most of the first opening rounds were really good. I think his best pick was Devontae Parker in the 9th. I agree with what Ethan said earlier that Devontae Parker is probably primed for a really good season with Jay Cutler as his quarterback. Jay Cutler loves to zone in on one guy. God, do I know that. And I think Devontae Parker is the kind of guy that he'll zone in on. I don't think it'll be quite as much Jarvis Landry like Tannehill did. His worst pick, I'm going to go with John Ross in the 11th. I think he's got a knee injury right now at the moment. I don't think it's supposed to be long term, but I'm fairly certain he's already out for week 1.
He is.
And then
Actually, I'm sorry. Schefter's reporting that he's expected to miss week 2 as well.
wow, yeah, that's pretty nuts. I mean, the dude's had injury issues all through his career because he's a small guy that moves really fast. So when you run into a big guy who's moving slightly less fast, you're going to get clocked. I mean, there's just a lot of injury risk there. I think there's a lot better picks to take in the 11th. And then he also took Tyler Boyd in the 15th, which is just a secondary receiver from the Bengals. So just kind of weird for me there. His sleeper pick. I think we're going to go back to Devontae Parker, to be honest. I think 9th round is crazy value on him. If there wasn't so many other
Pay
good...
attention. Ethan, pay attention. Philip just said that your best pick was also your best sleeper pick. Just remember that. Remember that for later when I get to talk. Sorry, continue.
I mean, yeah, there's not too much more to say about Parker. I think that if the stupid amount of good receivers that fell through, the first 6-7 rounds wasn't there, I would have taken Parker easy.
Alex, your thoughts?
Okay. So I guess I'm going to start.
He started it with okay. This is going to be good. Everyone settle in.
Best pick definitely has to be Michael Thomas. I have to think that granted, the choice of him in the first round is a bit high, but you have to admit that Michael Thomas is going to be a big factor for the Saints in their first 3 weeks because Willie Snead's gone. You don't know what Coby Fleener's plan is in this offense. But I think that Michael Thomas has the ability to become, one of the game's elite receivers, and the first 3 weeks is the best opportunity to prove that.
And keep in mind, he got him in with the very last pick of the first round.
And I'm speaking as somebody who got Willie Snead, so I can definitely attest to that. Worst pick probably has to be Danny Woodhead. I don't see why people still think that Danny Woodhead is a viable starting running back. And maybe it's just because you optimized your lineup, Ethan, but honestly, I think that Woodhead is, at this point, he's more of a complimentary back, bench guy. If he manages to stay healthy all season, that would be great. But I am not looking at it. This is not optimistic. You lose a couple of guys on the Ravens offensive line. I think that you're pretty much, and I know I'm being a hypocrite here because I have a Ravens running back too. The sleeper pick definitely has to be Carson Wentz. I think Carson Wentz is great because he's a great fallback to Ben Roethlisberger and could be a good bridge. I think that the Eagles have made enough moves to surround Wentz with a considerable amount of talent to make him a potentially dangerous quarterback in year 2. And I think that, at the end of the year, you could be seeing Wentz as Ethan's starter as opposed to Roethlisberger.
Yeah, that is very true. I'm looking right now because I'm just doing a quick count here. Of all of the players that he drafted, and again, I understand this is fantasy football. It's different sometimes from real football. But of all of the players you drafted, you have 1, 2, 3. Is that it? That's it. You have 3 players on your team who made the playoffs last season. 3. Just 3. Starting off, I think your best pick, honestly, was McCaffrey in the second round. I think, and honestly, it's a toss-up between him and Michael Thomas.
Third
Your first two
round,
rounds were good. I think. Oh, that's right. Excuse me. McCaffrey was your third round pick. Yeah, McCaffrey's good. I think he is going to be good. I think he's going to live up to his expectations. Even I think he's just going to be a solid running back. Michael Thomas, he's catching the ball from Drew Brees. Like, that's going to be sick. Then it just kind of all goes downhill. I mean, you drafted a tight end in the 4th round. Then you drafted a backup running back in the 5th round. A backup running back to one of the best running backs in the league. Granted, on an offense where he sees some potential, but I'm sorry, he's a backup. He's a backup running back, and let me just again reiterate: he is playing on an offense that has lost its offensive coordinator and doesn't have a new plan. So the general is gone, but the battle plan still exists. So to me, that's just that's risky. That's very risky. And I'm going to stop knocking your team so much. I think Carson Wentz is one of the better picks you made, especially getting him in the 9th round. I was really surprised, and especially keeping Big Ben. I thought that was smart to go after a good quarterback, and I think you were really lucky to get Wentz when you got him, because I mean, Big Ben, it can be a hell of a quarterback, but again, he's older. You don't know how his health is gonna hold up, but I mean, you still have Carson Wentz to fall back on. I think he's gonna have a good season. All right, now we'll let you talk again. So let's go to your opponent, Corn on the Cob, which is, we'll just refer to him as Fake Phil from now on.
Can Real Phil start the conversation again?
Oh, Real Phil can absolutely start the conversation. And please do. Unless you know what? Let's let Ethan kick it off.
All right, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Ethan, you haven't talked. That's
this asshole.
Yeah.
Philip's ready to go. He's got something to say.
Oh my god.
Phil, take it away. Take it away. Go ahead.
Can I go? All right.
All right.
I hate this team. I think it's awful. I think Rob's auto draft did better than this team. It's
And you still have to
atrocious.
get a cornerback.
Oh my god! Like, he still has to add a quarterback onto his roster. So that's
It's like a no-brainer who we should drop.
yeah, exactly.
Oh
The
my.
person who's on injured reserve, who we drafted in the 11th round. Like,
Hey, wait.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Can I say something really quick?
go for it.
Ethan, I'm really sorry for making fun of your team, man. I didn't take a good look at this team. Like
This team,
I'm
I
sorry,
actually
like,
think he might have been trolling. Like, I'm not 100% sure, but it's terrible. Randall Cobb in the 4th round? He's a wide
Yeah,
receiver
I
3 on a great offense. But he's still wide receiver 3 with Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams in front of him. And arguably Michael Bennett.
granted, he's
No.
a returner, but he's a limited returner.
Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah, the only way that even approaches the value is if he returns kicks and punts and is good at it.
And has
Which is
Devontae
not-
Adams season.
The only way he returns the value at which he took him is if he returns kicks, punts, and also just becomes the quarterback of that team.
Yeah.
'Cause that's really the only way he's going to add up to the value of where he took him.
Nuts. And then Jonathan Stewart in the 4th round as well. You had 2 4th-round picks and they're both terrible? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then he has 2 5th-round picks. And he takes Tyler Eifert and Russell Wilson, which is just significantly better of 5th-round picks, in my opinion, than his 4th-round picks are. Like, if he picked both of them in the 4th round, I would have been happy with that, to be honest.
And that's the worst part is I think both of those picks are too early for both of those guys.
Yeah, just think about it. He had
what he did in the
7
4th round,
picks.
5th round looked genius.
He had 7 picks in the first 5 rounds, and they're pretty much all terrible.
Listen, Fake Phil, if you're listening to this podcast, do us a favor. Next year's draft, trade away all of your draft picks.
See, what's funny is I traded him so many of his good draft picks, and he wasted a bunch of them.
He threw them in the literal toilet.
Granted, it worked out for me because I ended up winning the title, but still. Ugh.
You would think it would work for him, too, having 7 picks in the first 5 rounds. But they're terrible.
Wait, you won the title last year?
I did, yes.
Holy shit!
Past
Did you have?
few
I
years,
assume
actually.
you had a better draft. I assume you had a better draft last year then, or are you just like a trade machine?
He
I
fell
made
apart
a little bit of
before
both.
the
2
season.
or 3 trades the whole year last year, but I traded a good chunk of my team.
All right, and then just to close
All right.
off my epic rant, best pick and sleeper pick are the same. OJ Howard in the 15th. I think he has the potential to do really good things in Tampa, and I don't want to talk about this team anymore. Someone else, please move on. Ethan, go.
Yeah,
You haven't
all right.
talked.
Go, I'm looking at my computer.
I mean, I really can't pick a worse pick. There's too many to count that I just don't like. I'll start with T.Y. Hilton, Cobb, Stewart. Eifert's not horrible. Wilson's not horrible. Joe Williams, obviously terrible. OJ Howard, yeah, I'm with Philip. OJ Howard's not the worst pick, especially for the 15th round. He's got the Chiefs defense. He's got something.
Which you took in the 8th round. So
Wait,
high.
okay. At the risk of saving on time, because we're like approaching near an hour here, or whatever, or half an hour, I don't even know. But still, at the risk of saving time, let's just leave it off with the fact that the Chiefs' defense is one of the bright spots on his team.
Yeah, how about we just all agree his team sucks and move on?
Oh, his team sucks. Let's put it this way. I'm not even. His best pick is his quarterback, and his quarterback unfortunately has had the misfortune of being on all the league's worst teams in the past few years. His worst pick definitely has to be Williams. Which why the fuck would you take an IR designated player? And his sleeper probably will have to be. I can't believe I'm saying this. It's going to be Todd Gurley, because Gurley, we've seen the potential there. But Gurley, it all depends on how that team functions.
Yeah, but
There you
even
go.
a sleeper at the 15th overall pick.
The only comment I'm going to make about this team, I'm going to make two comments. First of all, I am high on Todd Gurley. I did trade him away in one of my other leagues, but I got really, until fucking idiot Patriots goddamn Edelman got injured, it was a really good trade to send Gurley away, because I traded away Larry Fitzgerald and Todd Gurley for you know what? I don't even want to talk about this trade because I'm still mad about Edelman getting injured. But anyway.
PTSD.
And no one cares about your other leagues, so get out of here.
Yeah. And this league is total bullshit, too. Like, it's terrible. Like, any of you guys, like, I guarantee you, like, Cody or Fake Phil could, like, come into this other league and just win it. Like, we had a guy drafted kicker in the 3rd round 2 years ago, and he won the league. Yeah.
All right, let's just move on. We need to get this.
So, again, moving on. The only
What does that say about you, Al? You can't beat a guy that drafts a kicker in the 3rd round?
Oh, I had. Oh, man. I had
with Phil.
I had my WR1, I had my RB1, my RB2, and my quarterback all get injured for the whole season.
Christ, you got Cody.
Yeah, I got destroyed. Okay, so first things first, this team, corn on the cob, is fucking terrible. Todd Gurley is the only bright spot on this team. I believe in him because, you know what, he's a Georgia Bulldog, and I love the Georgia Bulldogs. We just beat the shit out of App State. What up, Jake Fromm? I'm in North Carolina, and all the App State fans were so mad, and it was awesome. So fucking go Bulldogs. But other than that, this team is just – I mean, the guy drafted a fucking lacrosse player in the 7th round. He drafted a fucking college lacrosse player in the 7th round.
A fucking good lacrosse player in the 7th round.
I think that's all we need to say. I don't think there's anything else to
End
say.
of story. This matchup is – Ethan, if you don't beat him,
it's going to
stop
be
playing
devastating.
Yeah.
That'd be more upsetting than Howard versus UNLV.
Oh, okay. Let's not get into college football because we'll get completely fucking derailed. But seriously, Ethan, if you lose this team, have you ever seen what the samurai do with the swords and the
seppuku? Yeah.
Yeah,
something like that.
Kill yourself.
If you lose to him, do that on the podcast. Must watch TV.
Let's watch
All right.
TV.
Let's move on. I don't think there's any doubt who's winning this fucking matchup. It's ridiculous. Okay. I'm going to shut the hell up for a little bit here because let's go to the matchup between me and auto draft random person who's terrible.
Steel 83, who, as we probably can assume, will be out of the league by the end of the year.
Also, in fact, can we not even talk about his team, his draft? Because he auto drafted. So It's not like
We're not even going to give him the benefit of the.
That was a really stupid pick.
I will say, it's better than Corn on the Cob.
It really
By
is.
kind of
it
like a
is.
lot.
It
By
is.
kind of a
It
lot.
actually is a reasonably good team once you get past the fact that he didn't make any picks.
Yeah,
All right,
I mean,
But come on, let's just
Look,
move to the bag.
You got Joe Flacco in the 15th round. That's not too bad. He is elite, by the way.
Yeah, good one.
He is elite.
Shut
All
up.
right, we're going to talk about douchebag double check. Alex, how about you kick it off since we kind of just ran over you and talking about Corn on the Cob?
All right, best pick. Best pick has to be Tyreek Hill. I don't know if
my
he's
man.
Shut up.
I don't know if Tyreek is going to be able to replicate what he did last year, but considering the fact that this league is really friendly towards returners, I think that Hill, and his Swiss Army knife ability is going to make him a dangerous weapon. I mean, he was one of the few things that made Andrew good watchable last year. That tells you something. So as far as the worst pick goes, probably going to have to go with Amir Abdullah. I don't like the Lions. Come to think of it, you drafted 2 Lions running backs. Yeah, so explain yourself there. We haven't seen really.
I was asked a question. I'm allowed to respond. I was asked a question.
Yeah,
These are the
do it.
rules.
Take it away.
The way we basically couch that is because we absolutely needed running back depth at that point, right? When we drafted, because let me just go back. I've been roster baiting too much, so I have to just remind myself here.
Well, dude, you should know this. You should be on it.
Well, because you have to remember we took Amir Abdullah in the 7th round or in the 6th round, but then we took Theo Riddick 7 rounds later, and I get it. They are kind of a running back by committee, but the way we look at it is for this season, our RB2 is the Detroit Lions running game. Whoever has a better week is going to be in our final roster. So again, it's not a perfect situation, but I do agree with you. I was not 100% thrilled with this, but I mean, you never know. Matt Stafford could die.
All right,
he could just
you're
stop
done.
throwing. I'm done.
All right, so now for your sleeper. Honestly, I think it's going to be Tyler Lockett. I think it's going to be Thomas Rawls. Say what you will about Eddie Lacy being the starter in Seattle, but I don't think he's what he used to be. And I think that Rawls is going to take back the opportunity that he lost last year. I think that Rawls is supposed to be the starter in Seattle, and I think that Lacy at this point should just become a fullback. And Rawls will probably end up being a much better producer for you than either Abdullah or Riddick.
That's fair. All right, Ethan, what do you got?
All right, so there's a lot of good picks in this draft. I will say, I will compliment you on that, sir.
I'm being humble. This is me being humble.
I really like the oh man. And actually, my favorite picks are the running backs for the Detroit Lions at 6 and 7. It's a little high, but I do like you. You really can't get both without the other, and the fact that you got them both are a very serious weapon if you can get them on the same team. Because, like you said, one will have a good week one week, the other have a really good week. I personally love Theo Riddick. He's very consistent, and his floor is always the same every year, and it's a decent floor. My riskiest pick, I'm going to disagree with Alex, and I'm going to go with Thomas Rawls. I just think that backfield is really crowded, and everything that I've seen about Seattle this year has been more of a focus on the passing game, and they want Wilson to get out in space and throw the ball a little bit more, which could lead to bigger things for my favorite sleeper in your draft, which is Tyler Lockett. His returning duties play a part in this, but I think he could have a role in the passing game. There are a few mouths to feed in the Seattle wideout core. But I think Lockett is enough of a playmaker where he can carve out a little bit of a role. But overall, I really like this draft.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna go with the sleeper pick for me as well, which is I agree with Ethan and what Alex halfway said until he changed the rules is Tyler Lockett in the 12th round. I think Tyler Lockett's probably gonna be low end wide receiver 2 overall at the end of the year, and I think he'll get super value on that 12th round pick. My favorite pick is actually your 11th round pick, Ted Ginn. I mean, how do you compare like Cam Newton and Drew Brees? Like the potential for that long ball to Ted Ginn, if he can, unbrick his hands and catch the ball, is huge. Like he could have a ton of yards.
He also does some returning.
Some returning, also good. For my worst pick, I'm gonna actually do 2 little packages of picks. I wouldn't personally like on my team having 3 players from the same team. You got Golden Tate, Amir Abdullah, and Theo Riddick. I think that's a smart pairing to have Abdullah and Riddick. But then when they're both on their bye week and your only starting running backs are Melvin Gordon and Thomas Rawls, that's going to put you in a hard position. And then also your QBs have the same bye week as well. So just thought I'd point that out, and hopefully you feel bad about yourself.
Can I respond to the QB
Go for it.
thing? I knew that they had the same bye week. We just took Manning because we just didn't want anyone else to have him.
Fair.
I'm not going to comment. You know what? I'm happy with my draft. I've roster baited over it a whole bunch. I'm still doing it. The one thing is, though, I'm surprised nobody brought up Larry Fitz in the 5th.
Yeah, I think
it's
good. It's not huge value.
I was like,
he's not groundbreaking.
No.
I didn't want to take him in the 5th, but we were afraid that we would lose out on him.
Nah, not the worst pick I've ever seen.
If Fitzgerald was,
it's average.
It's basically a lottery ticket pick at this point. So
yeah, exactly.
I really don't see any like.
Also, Alex, thank you for recognizing why I basically forced Jeff to take Tyreek Hill when we did. Because I mean, the guy had almost 1,000 yards returning last season, just returning, and he had almost over 1,000 yards in receptions too. So,
in this league, a good returner will definitely, give you maybe at least a win, and that's why
he was also the only player in the NFL to have 3 either kick or punt returns for a touchdown. Because he had 1 punt return and 1 kick return and 2 punt returns for a touchdown last season.
Yeah, if I
only player in the NFL to have 3.
Believe me, I would have taken Tyreek Hill, but I kind of had my focus on my returner, and that was going to be Ryan Switzer.
Okay, so we're going to wipe the hell out of this team week 1. Pitt Steel 83, right?
Probably, probably.
It's pretty much almost a given.
Yeah, you're projected to win by 20 points, so.
That's almost a gimme. So let's move on. We've covered all 4 of our teams. So
what do we got left?
Let's do the Foolish Club runner-up.
Yeah, let's do that. Who is that?
That was Booze Cruise Balls. And that is an interesting team. I think that this is the team you have to talk about.
Well, talk about it. Do it.
Wait, just off the top. I'm sorry. Hey, first round pick. When I saw Zeke Elliott taken in the first round, I was like, this motherfucker, he doesn't get what fantasy football is. He's a fucking idiot. But it came out today. I was like, there's no way the NFL is not going to release a statement or going to hand down a ruling on Elliott, right? Because they had a deadline, 4 p.m. today, September the 5th, 2017, right? And if they didn't hand down a ruling by 4 p.m. today, Elliott was cleared to play.
In week 1.
And guess what?
They didn't give a ruling.
In week 1 and 2.
I don't think 2.
He's cleared now for week 1 and 2. Yeah. That's what I heard on the radio. So, and the radio never lies. Unless it's my show. No, I mean, Like, holy fuck, NFL.
Yeah, I give him
The guy-
credit. He took a risk. He took a risk, and it's
He
paid
took a
off
risk.
for
He
him.
took the risk that I was not going to
Yeah.
take. I mean,
it's still but it's still a risk. It hasn't paid off for him yet. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, you have to remind yourself that this guy got charged with 5 different cases of domestic abuse over a 6-day period. It wasn't like a Ray Rice, he got pissed off and hit his wife kind of a thing. Like, and again, I'm not defending that, but Ray Rice had one moment where he did something he absolutely should not have. And then since then, he has done nothing but try and make up for it.
And he's out of the league.
Like, Zeke Elliott, and nobody will let him play, which is bullshit in my opinion. But Zeke Elliott, 5 charges in 6 days. Like, that's like
The guy's
bank
nuts.
robber numbers. Like, come on.
but let's actually go back. Let's go back to what we are supposed to be doing on this podcast and judging his best pick, his worst pick, and his sleeper pick.
Dude,
Thank
if
you,
you don't,
Alex. And because you brought
if you
that
don't
up,
have Ezekiel Elliott news, is it even an NFL podcast these days?
this is true.
All right,
We
but let's
had-
go.
I had
Elliott
to
will,
get that out
Elliott will probably weasel his way on in some way, but let's go through this.
Yeah,
By the
I'm
end of
gonna-
this session, we're gonna
Alex.
be so sick of talking about Zeke Elliott.
Oh, I know. I'm already sick of it. But all right, Alex, best, worst, sleeper, go. I have to get to bed at some point tonight, so let's go. Lego.
Best pick has to be AJ Green, and considering the value he got Green at, I think that he should be damn proud of himself. This is a guy who was a legit. He was like admittedly, it was a bottom half of the first round pick, but to get him in the second round, that's insane. I mean, granted, Green was the first overall pick last year due to keepers, but I think that you'll find that Green is going to be an important weapon in that for Boost Cruz. Worst pick in my opinion has to be, and maybe it's just because I haven't really seen anything out of him, but I'm not so sure about CJ Fedorowicz. Fedorowicz, he doesn't strike me as that offensive tight end. He never really has, and I think that, considering the fact that he got Evan Ingram, I think he's got a pretty solid backup plan right there, and I think that Ingram is going to be his starter at the end of the year. But I think that Fedorowicz has always been a question mark as a fantasy producer. Sleeper pick, I'm not even going to go near Ezekiel Elliott because we all know that, if he has all 16 games, he's going to basically be an MVP candidate. No, the sleeper pick here, in my opinion, has to definitely be second here. I'm going to have to say it's going to be Martavis Bryant. Martavis Bryant is coming off, a suspension. This is his final year with Ben Roethlisberger, I think. And I honestly have to say that Roethlisberger and Bryant are going to be a big connection like they were back in 2015, 2014. My point is that he has the potential to be a legit wide receiver one, and he has the potential to once again be a star player.
All right, Philip, your thoughts. Go ahead.
My thoughts. I'm going to start with my best pick, which is Alex's sleeper pick, Martavis Bryant. I think there is solid value on him there in the 5th round. Personally, I think he could be one of the best receivers in the entire league, just based on the limited production that he's had before. I mean, his touchdown to game ratio is nuts. He had 14 touchdowns, I think, in 21 games played. Like, that's insane. I think he's going to be a hugely important player for him, even with AJ Green as his number one. My worst pick for him, I think it's going to be Duke Johnson in the 7th. I think that was a little bit reachy on for him. I don't think he's going to do a whole lot, and I think his entire running back situation as a whole is super sketchy, and I wouldn't really want to be a part of that. My best sleeper pick is definitely going to be Evan Ingram. I think you got a solid player there in the 13th round. They love to throw it with the Giants, so we're not even going to pretend they have a good running game. So I think he could definitely be a valuable tight end.
All right, Ethan.
All right, so I'd like to point out a couple things before I dive into my picks. I'm not going to talk about him, but Martavis Bryant's a great pick simply because he was drafted at 69th overall. I think that deserves a nice.
Nice.
And then, Alex, I'd agree with you on CJ Fedorowicz if he was drafted in the 8th or 9th round where we saw a lot of tight ends going. The fact that he got him in the 13th, I mean, along with Ingram, I might add, that's a good gamble. I don't mind that as much.
Just call me crazy, but the fact that he waited until like the teen rounds to draft his tight end really didn't settle well with me.
Fair, that's fair.
You're fucking crazy. There, I said it.
So that all being said, the best pick of this draft, I'm actually going to go with Carson Palmer in round 10. I think he got pretty good value for the guy. I know he's very injury prone. I mean, knowing from him being a former Bengals quarterback. But I think this could be his really last chance to win a Super Bowl with Arizona. So I think he's going to come out and have a big year. They do have a very easy schedule. He's got Larry Fitzgerald still. He's got Bruce Arians as his coach, which I think is the most important factor here. And the fact that he got him at round 10, he got him pretty good value. And he could – I mean, he also has Drew Brees as his other quarterback. But I thought, you know, if Carson Palmer has as big of a year as I think he's going to, that's trade bait. Hey, you can use that starting quarterback and get something else for the guy.
The Cardinals, by the way, have the third best schedule for wide receivers this season.
Yeah. As far as the worst pick of this draft, there was a couple I really didn't like. But the biggest one I have to go with is Eddie Lacy here. I just don't like the Seahawks running back situation. It's crowded with Rawls, Prozis, and Lacy. He's definitely took a gamble there, and especially because he drafted him in the 6th round. I thought he could get something a little bit better there. And then my sleeper pick, I'm going to disagree with whoever was knocking Duke Johnson. I think it was you, Philip.
Yeah,
but Duke Johnson, I'm kind of high on the guy. I really like Hugh Jackson, and I know Hugh Jackson really loves what Duke Johnson has been doing in the passing game. I really like DeShone Kizer. I don't think the Browns are going to be as bad as everyone's saying they're going to be. They're not going to be as bad as the Jets and the Bills and some of the other bottom feeders in the league. I think they'll be a step up. I can't believe I'm saying this as a Bengals fan, by the way, but they'll be halfway decent, and I think Duke Johnson will be a part of that.
Wow.
Somebody just said on a recording
put money on
that the Browns are going to be halfway decent too.
Halfway decent. They're going to win 3 or 4 games, which is a step up of the 1 or 2 they usually win.
Wait, okay, so then phrase that better, because halfway decent in the NFL is like close to 500.
Oh, no, they're not going to be close to 500.
Find me the last time where you saw a 3-win team and you were like, they're halfway decent. No. Honestly, the Browns, to me, like, I kind of agree with you.
You got to think about the Browns' standards, though. Halfway decent for them is 3 or 4 wins.
Yeah, if they have like 3 or 4 wins this season, we'll be like, you know what? Good for them. Like,
Exactly.
good for you. You did better than awful. Like, good for you. My quick thoughts on this. Ezekiel Elliott, you're heading into a Vegas casino and you're putting your fucking life savings down on the table and you're rolling the fucking dice. Because at this point, the longer this drags out and the crazier this situation gets, because it seems like every week this situation just gets crazier, there's more and more potential that Zeke gets either no suspension or a bigger suspension. So again, you're basically just putting your house and all your money on black on a roulette table and just
like how we added in the house there.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. I mean, there's
keeps getting crazier every time.
I gotta respect the balls, though. I gotta respect the balls to do that.
Oh God, yeah, fucking big ones too. It's like good on you, kid. But
not to mention the fact that it probably hurt him too physically because he is a Giants fan, and he said, and I quote, "I broke my cardinal rule."
Oh yeah,
He drafted a Cowboy.
The only reason I don't draft Cowboys anymore is I had Des Bryant burn me like 2 years in a row. Like 2 years in a row. Like I just didn't learn. Okay, just really quickly, Martavius Bryant, good. Eddie Lacy, bad. Ethan, I'm sorry. Duke Johnson, bad. Like, I'm sorry. I know he's been a factor in the past,
I'm telling
but
you.
it's not like they're putting him in the slot and sending him on deep routes. You know, they're sending him on play action screen bubble passes. Like at the end of the day, if you're playing the Browns, you load up the box because you know they don't actually have a passing game, and then the game is just over. Like, so I'm sorry. Like he's gonna have good numbers, and honestly, like I'm not too mad about a 7th round pick for Duke Johnson, but I mean he's a Browns player. Like he plays on the Cleveland Browns. Like, I'm sorry, they're terrible. They're just awful. Carson Palmer in the 10th, really good. Fedoritz, I agree with you guys. I think at where he picked him, it's decent value. Also, he's a tight end, so who actually really cares? I will also point out, Alex, you were saying that he picked his tight ends too late. He picked Fedoritz before we picked our tight end. So, and nobody complained about my tight end, but we're gonna move on.
I thought it complained for itself, to be honest.
All right, don't rock the boat, who is playing who's playing against Boots Cruise Ballers in week 1. Let's start with you, Philip.
Little bit of a sketchy team. It's got a lot of good players, but I don't think its receiver depth is very good, to be honest. So I'll start with his receivers as my best and worst picks. So best pick for me is Terrell Williams in the 9th. I think that he'll be a good factor for the Chargers out there in LA. Everyone's concerned that there's going to be growing pains, getting to LA and making everything work there. But I think he'll be just fine in the 9th round. That's an easy enough pick for me. My worst pick for him is Alshon Jeffrey in the 3rd. The people he passed up on to take Alshon Jeffrey, Demaryius Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, Terrell Pryor. I mean, come on. Alshon Jeffrey before those guys? That's kind of nuts. And then my sleeper pick for him, I'm going to go with Jordan Matthews. I think in the 10th round, even though he's got, a couple injury concerns right now, I think that out of, all of his picks, that probably has some of the higher upside right there in terms of, where he's drafting the player at. You'll get some solid PPR numbers, and it should be all right.
You don't worry about Tyrod Taylor's concussion?
He's already cleared.
All right, I just want to point that out. All right, Alex, go ahead.
Okay, this one's actually pretty easy for me. So the best pick, I think, I'm going to have to disagree with you, Philip. I actually like the Alshon Jeffrey pick. And, you had cited a bunch of picks, that he could have gone with. The thing that I don't like about those picks is the quarterbacks that are throwing to them. At least with Jeffrey, you have a guy who's coming into his own as a potentially good quarterback. And you have Jeffrey who's gambling on himself. He took a 1-year, $12 million contract. That basically says that he thinks that he can do even better than he did. And I think that he is going to be a much bigger threat. In fact, in another league, I was choosing between him and Isaiah Crowell as guys who I really wanted, and I ended up taking Crowell over Jeffrey, and that may bite me in the ass. But moving on. Worst pick, I would have to say, is Marshawn Lynch. I don't see why everybody is so high on Marshawn Lynch. I don't see why NFL ranked him so high. Honestly, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Running backs that take a year off have historically not been good when they've come back. I mean, granted, Lynch is playing for his hometown team, and he may feel rejuvenated, but I just feel like he's going to. I'm not going to say he's going to be an absolute tire fire, but I don't think he's worth the value of a 2nd round pick. I think that's where he was taken, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But my point is that it just feels like a huge reach. I think the sleeper pick here is Curtis Samuel. Samuel is basically what Tyreek Hill was last year. He's both a receiver and a runner. And I think that he could potentially be another weapon in that game. I think that Samuel could be potentially that type of Swiss Army knife that, Ty Montgomery was last year, that Hill was. I think that Samuel is going to be a much bigger weapon in the offense than many people would believe.
All right, Ethan, your thoughts?
All right, I actually really hated this draft with a few exceptions. Notably at the quarterback position, I think he did very well, and his best picks were his quarterbacks, I think, other than David Johnson, but that's kind of obvious, right? Derek Carr and Rivers, he got them in the 7th and 8th round. I thought they were solid picks, good value. He won't have issues at the quarterback position the whole year.
I want to cut you off because let's also remember David Johnson was a keeper. And David Johnson at the 5th overall pick, like that's again like we were talking about with Antonio Brown at 7th. Like David Johnson at 5th overall is great value.
Yep, great value for sure.
Cash roster.
As far as his worst pick goes, there's a lot of picks in his draft that I really didn't like. But I guess the biggest one I got to point out is Mike Gillislee from the Patriots in the 5th round. The running back situation in New England is always just too hard to predict. So I don't like to go after it personally, especially with a 5th round pick. I think that's definitely a risk on his part. Other than that, I'm with Alex on the Lynch thing. And then I'm with Philip on the Alshon Jeffrey thing. I don't like either of those picks either. As far as his sleeper pick goes, I'm going to go with Zach Miller here as his backup tight end. He put up some decent numbers there last year. And to get him in the 14th round, he got some solid value. That's like getting your starting tight end in the 14th round. So I thought you got some pretty good value for Zach Miller, and he could take advantage of that if Zach Miller continues the way he's going and trade him to a tight end needy team for maybe a running back later on if Lynch doesn't pan out or if Gillislee doesn't pan out. But I thought that was a good pick.
You mean when they don't pan out?
When they don't pan out, fair.
No, I'm totally on board with you. Marshawn Lynch in the 2nd round is absurd. I actually, unlike a lot of teams, this may come as a big shock to you guys that I have opinions about things. I know it's
do.
Hold on to your horses because I know that's big fucking news. I don't know how I feel about the Alshon Jeffrey pick, and honestly, I hate to say it, that's my sleeper on this team. And I know it's weird to pick a sleeper in the 3rd round, but I think that Alshon Jeffrey's floor is solid enough to warrant it where he picked him, simply based on the wide receivers that were available. Because I know, having been on a team that didn't keep a stud wide receiver, I mean, dude, when Mike Evans is the best wide receiver available at the start of the draft, it's not a deep wide receiver draft. Like it's kind of tough, at least at the top end. So the Alshon Jeffrey pick, I don't know on. But again, that's sandwiched between two completely fucking terrible picks in Marshawn Lynch and Mike Gillislee. Honestly, Jeff and I had Marshawn Lynch going in the 7th between the 5th and the 7th round. When he went in the 2nd, we just laughed. It was just hilarious. Also, again, Delanie Walker in the 5th. I'm sorry. Delanie Walker's a good tight end, but 5th round, really? I don't see it.
Usually dependable. I think. I mean, I wouldn't justify a 5th round selection on him, but getting Walker.
That's my point. No, and I know Walker is dependable, but Walker is not a 5th round fantasy draft pick in any league. I'm sorry. I mean, unless you're going a league where all tight ends have their scoring tripled, it's absurd. But that being said, this kid could actually make the playoffs based almost exclusively on Derek Carr and Philip Rivers. the guy drafted great quarterbacks, and you cannot deny that. And
Oh, yeah.
David Johnson single-handedly carried me to a fantasy championship last year. So
I could have single-handedly screwed with his draft strategy because he was waxing the praises of Phillip Rivers, and I could have just gotten Rivers at any point. But I had an agreement with him because I had made a deal with him that I was not going to take him. But like I said, I think
ban them for collusion.
It does sound like collusion, yeah. Like, that's kind of awkward that you just brought that up on a recorded podcast.
Yeah, actually, wait a minute.
You know,
that is 150% collusion.
I said I was not going to take Phillip Rivers, and come to think of it, I was not even.
That's collusion.
That is collusion.
That's
that's the definition
of it.
Whatever.
Wait a minute.
Ban me. Sue me. Ban me.
No,
I don't care.
We'll just
look upon you with some shame.
Shame.
Oh,
Exactly.
Shame.
Oh man, I can't believe
yeah.
you
You
actually
want
just
to know
said that.
what two things I
I
have to say
can't
about
handle
that?
this crisis
Fuck
this late at
and
night.
you. All right. Can we just talk about how we feel this matchup is going to be?
No, can we talk about the punishment for Giobbi for just
For
admitting
literally
collusion?
telling us he colluded.
I'm sorry. I read the Constitution.
He admitted
It's
to it.
very clear about this. Like, I'm sorry. You just admitted to colluding with another team. Like,
This is
It's
the
not
kind
like
of thing you admit when you win that championship, which you're not going to do, by the way.
clearly not now, because we're going to just take away all of his good players and just distribute them out to the rest of the people.
Okay, first of all,
Apparently you think this is communist Russia, Alex, and you
move
can just
on.
share everything.
No. Move
We'll
on.
discuss this later. Okay, moving on. I even forgot what matchup we were talking about. I got all worked up there.
Jeez, fuck. It's Booze Cruise Ballers versus Don't Rock the Boza. I'm going to say that it's going to be Booze Cruise Ballers, although Don't Rock the Boza is going to keep it in. It's going to keep it close with this quarterback play. It really all depends on how good Marshawn Lynch can be.
And how
There
much
you go.
and how much they collude with each other.
Exactly.
Shut the fuck up.
I think we found a solid season-long meme right now. I think this is going to go on for at least a year.
Exactly.
Shut
This is insane.
fuck up.
You remember when we started doing this podcast and we're like, we'll be like 15 minutes, maybe a half hour. Like 3 fucking hours later.
Hey, at least we're having fun, right? But we do need to get this done.
No,
I'm picking the defending
We've still got 4
runner-up
more
last
teams.
year to beat Don't Rock the Bosa.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Okay. We have 2 more matchups to do.
Yeah, no, well, we need to finish what we were talking about, Alex. You can't just mutiny this podcast, damn it.
Al is running the podcast.
With an iron fist, damn it. So,
Alex is colluding
listen.
with the podcast.
Philip, who's winning? Who's Cruise Ballers? Stop it. Who's winning? Stop it. Who's winning? Who's Cruise Ballers and Don't Rock the Bosa?
Booze Cruise Ballers. I don't Rock the Bosa team that much.
I agree. So basically, TLDR, Ethan, go fuck yourself. Moving on. We've got, I'm just picking it right here, Cursed Jets fan. Stupid name because it's got Jets involved. Philip, keep this to like a minute because we honestly need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, we
All right,
really
Cursed
do.
Jets fan.
Cursed Jets fan. Best pick in my
No
opinion.
more
is-
analysis. Let's just, or we can just talk about the
Just
keepers.
try to keep it.
I got
Try to
this.
keep
I got
it to
this.
30
Wait,
seconds
wait,
each player.
guys, I got this. Philip, just give me your best pick on this team.
Best pick, Andy Dalton.
Good. Ethan, your best pick on this team.
I'm going to go with Andy Dalton as well. Go
Okay.
Bengals.
Alex, your best pick on this team.
Marcus Mariota.
Okay. I'm actually, honestly, I'm with. Wait a minute. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm with, and I'm the one holding things up. Alex, I'm with you. Marcus Mariota, I think was the best pick on this team. Although do love Devonta Freeman. Philip, worst pick on this team.
Worst pick, Broncos.
Yes, 100%. Ethan, do you just?
Yeah, Broncos team is pretty abysmal.
Alex, do
I'm
you disagree?
sorry.
Gonna say Brandon Marshall.
Yeah. You know what?
That's fair.
That's actually pretty good, but that's like 6 of one, half dozen of the other of both being terrible. Brandon Marshall in the 6th round of the Broncos defense in the 7th round.
Yeah, not great.
All right.
And
Sleeper.
this is not due to personal bias. I just think that he's getting old.
All
Okay,
right, doing
Philip.
analysis. Move on.
Sleeper.
Sleeper Cole Beasley.
Okay. Ethan, sleeper.
Sleeper, Shane Vereen.
Gross.
Alex, sleeper.
Sleeper, gonna have to say Mike Wallace.
I'm going with Cole Beasley just because he took him so late.
Yeah.
Good value at that pick, and you never know. You never know what could happen. Moving on to his opponent in week 1, which is What's Up Scrubs. Bill, your favorite pick on this team?
My favorite pick on this team is Sterling Shepard.
All right. Alex, throwing you curveball. Favorite pick?
Favorite pick has to be Matthew Stafford.
Solid. Ethan?
Yeah, Alex took it right out of my mouth. My favorite pick in this draft is Matt Stafford for sure.
And I'm going one round above. Honestly, no, you know what? Honestly, I like the value of Brandon Cooks, keeping him at the 19th overall pick. Like, I think he's gonna have a good season. Just me. I mean,
he was the person I was debating with for Sterling Shepard. It was going to be either one of those two, and I chose Shepard.
I mean, honestly, we all are old enough to remember what Tom Brady did with Randy Moss.
Yeah.
End of conversation. End of story. Alex, your worst pick on this team?
Deshaun Jackson.
All right, Ethan.
Kenny Britt.
Ooh, good one. Philip.
Rob Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Philip. Words right out of my mouth. That Rob Kelly is a terrible pick. All right, who do you think is going to win this matchup?
Wait, we didn't
You
give
forgot
him
the
a sleeper.
Oh, we gotta give him a sleeper.
Does he even have any good sleepers on his team?
It's worth a try. Figure
You
it out.
know what? So Alex, take it.
Okay, sleeper. Gonna have to go with, could be gonna have to say Landry.
All right. Ethan.
I'll go with Sterling Shepard as my sleeper here.
All right. Phil.
I'm going to go Sam Bradford.
Solid. I'm also going with Sterling Shepard. I think he's going to have an underrated season. I don't think he's going to break the bank, but I think he's going to have a decent season. Now, again, sleepers all done with now. We're going to move on to who do you think is going to win this matchup? Cursed Jets fans or What's Up Scrubs? Philip, what do you think?
It's tough. I think they're pretty close, to be honest. I'm just going to side with What's Up Scrubs because he is my brother.
All right, so clear bias displayed there. All right. Strong journalism here, says the kid drinking a beer. Ethan, go ahead.
I'll go next. I'm going to go with Gio. I just think his team's a little bit deeper.
And that's the Cursed Jets fan, right?
Yeah, cursed Jets fan.
Yeah. Alex?
Gonna have to say Cursed Jets fan too. I think that he's got enough motivation to want to prove that he can fit in this league.
I don't think he is a player on his fantasy team, so I don't think that's going to do very much.
Well, listen, maybe if you teach him to collude, he'll actually belong in this league.
Shame.
Every time you say collude, I am going to flip you off. Okay?
Oh, this is me getting really upset about it because you're just a Tom Brady cheater.
You shut up. Okay?
You just
All right, we got one more matchup to do, right?
Shut up.
I know. Okay, I know.
Oh,
Sir Cam
Al,
Moves
who do you
Vlogs
think's gonna
versus
win?
Hide Your Kids, Hide Your Wife, huh?
Did you say who you thought was going to win? Between What's Up Scrubs and Cursed Jets fan?
Can I be perfectly honest here? You know what? Wait, real honest. I don't really give a shit.
All right, let's move on.
Well, that's one way to put it.
We've been at this for like an hour and 40 minutes now, haven't we?
We actually have.
Yep.
Surprisingly, yeah. We
How
got
the
one last.
fuck do we
got
have
one last
this
match
much
do?
to say about fantasy football? Nobody else in the league is going to watch this. They're going to get 20 minutes in and be like, wow, this is terrible. Anyway, Sir
We're
Cam,
gonna
let's
stop
start with,
watching in the first 5 minutes when we're talking about
Talking
cats
about
and parties.
fantasy
Yeah,
football.
when I don't even have my shades on. Like, come on. The only way people will watch is if I cover my ugly ass face with the shades. Like, shit. Why do you think I made a career in radio? For fuck's sakes. Hey, colluders don't get to cough on my fucking podcast.
Game.
All right.
Oh, God.
Wait, I
All right,
wish
let's
I was
get
like in
this
charge of
over
this
with.
podcast.
I would refer to a story that you told me, but I think that we are going to not tell that story.
All right, so how do you
Wait,
how
actually,
do you
no,
like
I'm
Brad's good picks here? Who wants to start? I'll start. I really liked
Thank you.
the Derrick Henry pick in round 9.
All right, cool. Alex, favorite pick.
Favorite pick? Have to agree. Definitely Derrick Henry.
All right, cool.
Absolutely,
Now,
Derrick
favorite
Henry.
pick. For real?
Derrick Henry. Yeah, that was a good pick.
All right. Mine will be Pierre Garcon.
All right. Now I've retaken control. I've composed myself. Philip, we're going to start with you. Your number one for worst pick on this team.
Worst pick, Tyrod in the 10th.
100% agree with you. Ethan.
I'm gonna go Carlos Hyde in the 3rd round.
Alex.
Gonna have to go with Kelvin Benjamin.
Huh. Okay. We'll discuss that at a later date. Worst pick. Alex, go.
That's what we just did, didn't it?
I said it. Kelvin Benjamin.
No, I asked you for your best pick, numbnuts.
Oh, I said my best pick.
Yeah, we already did our best.
It was
picks.
Derrick
Derrick
Henry.
We're
Henry.
doing sleeper picks. Ethan, go.
Sleeper pick. I'm gonna go Tyrod Taylor here.
Gross. Alex, go.
Marlon Mack.
Less gross. Al, go.
Most Sanu, but like kind of a meh. Like he could be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
He got value. He got him in a good spot.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to go with Brandon LaFell.
Yeah. Okay. Now moving on to his opponent, Sir Cam Newton's Laws. Alex, best player on this team, best draft pick.
Best pick has to be Tom Brady.
All right.
Ethan.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but
I
it's
take
definitely
that
got
back.
Gio.
I take that back. I take that back.
All right.
All right.
Looters don't get taken
Best
back
pick on this team is really I'm actually gonna say it's gonna be Devontae Adams. Always good to have an alternative. Jordy Nelson
Nice.
is
Ethan, go.
He returns too.
Trying to get rid of the links to cheaters by not picking Brady. I'm gonna go with Brady. Actually, I think that's definitely his best pick in this draft.
All right.
I not to cut you off, Philip. I totally agree. I mean, he took Brady right around where we took Rodgers, and Jeff argues against it. I mean, Rodgers, I think, does have marginally better fantasy numbers than Tom Brady overall in like the last like couple of years. But it's when
it's
I
not
say
much.
marginally.
Yeah.
When I say marginally, I mean like fucking marginally. Like
Yeah.
they're barely different. Solid pick, no problems with it. And I hate the fucker.
Yep, and I'm going to go Devontae Adams. So glad we're all fairly in agreement.
All right, worst pick, Philip. Go ahead.
Adrian Peterson, the 6th.
Okay, 100% agree. Ethan,
Yeah, Adrian Peterson.
Alex.
tie between Peterson and Terrell Pryor.
Wait, make a decision. Make a commitment.
The obvious choice would be Peterson.
Yeah, exactly. So 4 out of 4 say you're a fucking idiot for having drafted Peterson in the 6th fucking round. Moving on. Your sleeper, Philip. Go.
Tavon Austin, the 14th.
Ooh, smart. Ethan, go ahead.
I like Hunter Henry in the 7th round.
Legit.
All right, solid. Alex.
Probably gonna have to go with Eric Decker.
That's exactly what I'm going with too. I'm not high on Eric Decker, but I think he's going to have a decent season. All right. Holy shit. Are we actually almost done? Oh my God. Wait,
Yeah,
we
we just
are.
have to decide
Who's
who
going to win
wins.
this matchup? Who's going to win this matchup? Really
Yeah,
quick.
we just have to
Who's
decide
gonna
who
win
wins.
this matchup? Go.
I am gonna go with Sir Cam Newton's Laws on this one. Brady's gonna
Cool.
carry the day.
Cool. Alex, who's going to win this matchup?
Gonna say hide your kids, hide your wife has to be based on the, I don't know. I just think that they have a better running back and potential receiving core, and their bench is certainly going to help them.
Phil.
I'm also going to go with hide your wife, hide your kids, because LaShawn McCoy is facing the Jets.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not even going to answer this. I'm just going to say they're going to tie because, frankly, I want this to be over. Getting a little Stockholm syndrome here from this podcast. Phil, can you please, for the love of Christ, stop recording?
I can definitely stop recording.